It was a dark and stormy night, and the rain was pouring down like a waterfall. The streets were deserted and the only sound was the sound of the rain. But then, something strange happened. A taxi pulled up to the curb, its headlights illuminating the darkness. The driver, a young man named John, had been driving for hours and was exhausted. He was about to call it a night when he spotted a lone figure standing in the rain. John rolled down his window and asked the figure if they needed a ride. The figure stepped forward, and John could see that it was a woman. She was wearing a long, dark cloak and her face was hidden in shadow. John was about to tell the woman that he didn't pick up passengers at night, but something about her made him hesitate. He found himself nodding in agreement and opening the door for her. The woman stepped into the car without a word and John pulled away from the curb. He glanced at her in the rearview mirror, but he couldn't make out her features. He felt a chill run down his spine, but he shook it off and focused on the road. John asked the woman for her destination, but she only stared out the window. He drove for what seemed like an eternity before she finally spoke. "Take me to the old abandoned house on the hill," she said in a low voice. John's heart skipped a beat. He had heard stories about the old abandoned house on the hill. It was said to be haunted by a spirit, and no one ever dared to go near it. But he found himself nodding in agreement and driving towards the house. When they arrived, John noticed that the house was even more decrepit than he had imagined. The windows were boarded up and the yard was overgrown with weeds. He shuddered as he watched the woman get out of the car and walk towards the house. John waited in the car, too afraid to move. He watched as the woman disappeared into the darkness of the house. He waited for what seemed like hours, but no one ever came out. Finally, John worked up the courage to get out of the car and investigate. He cautiously made his way towards the house, but when he reached the door, he found it unlocked. He stepped inside and was met with an eerie silence. John searched the house, but it was empty. He was about to turn around and leave when he heard a noise coming from upstairs. He cautiously made his way up the stairs and was met with a sight that made his blood run cold. The woman was standing in the middle of the room, her eyes glowing in the darkness. She stared at him for a moment before speaking. "You have done me a great service tonight," she said in a low voice. "I thank you for your courage." John was too afraid to speak. He could feel the cold chill of death in the air and he knew that this woman was no ordinary human. He watched as she slowly faded away, leaving him alone in the darkness. John stumbled out of the house and ran back to his car. He drove away as fast as he could, never looking back. He never told anyone what had happened that night, but he could never forget the eerie feeling of picking up a ghost without even realizing it.
So that's it. Do hit the like button and notification bell. Subscribe to Cryptic's Fables for more horrifying event. Beware, entities are around you.